Well, welcome, Chantal. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's lovely to have you here. Welcome to the TSO studio.
Thanks for having me.
We wanted to just touch base with you and catch up on the wonderful look and feel for the 2021 season that you've worked on so diligently and hard, and explain some of the rationale behind the look and feel for this year.
Yes, certainly. It's been a great project for our team to work on. We love working on the TSO account, but with the 2021 campaign, I guess there was a whole new challenge for us to think about, to kind of see how we can bring together everything that's happened in 2020 with COVID, all the changes, what that's meant for live performances and the uncertainty that it has brought, and then how we can use that to channel into, I guess, the opportunity and thinking innovatively and all the stuff that your team has come up with for ways to work around all that. So I guess our job was, how can we bring that to life and how can we tell that narrative? And one of the things that I guess was underpinning the 2021 theme was really this whole, we've got such a world-class orchestra here in Tasmania. It's our orchestra, Tasmania's orchestra, so that was the theme that we wanted to bring to light. And we really felt, putting the spotlight on our local talent here and being able to see, okay, we don't know necessarily what that's going to look like next year. Hopefully we get to have live performances as per usual, but there's now live streaming options, and just really getting to know the orchestra. So that real thought of what makes the orchestra tick, getting behind the scenes. One of my favourite shots from the shoot that we did was of Emma backstage, like getting ready and just seeing that, like that insight, that whole, we're used to seeing the orchestra on the stage, we're used to seeing them perform and just being able to get like behind the curtain and
get that really in-depth feel of what happens behind. Because I guess that's the whole idea. That's what we've been through this year. Is with us, it's been moving from a performance that happens on stage to a performance that happens on stage, but also is presented digitally. So trying to get that depth of closeness of the audience to what we're actually doing was part of the brief, wasn't it?
It's kind of, I guess, reaching beyond, because you sit in the audience and the orchestra are up there, and I mean that's an amazing experience to sit under. But we have, a great wealth of talent here that are just people that are living and working here in our community, and to be able to see a little bit behind the scenes and say, okay, this is what goes on. This is the practicing. This is the getting ready. This is the getting the music sheets, the cases of the instruments, the backstage, all of that I guess the audience don't usually get to see, and maybe haven't really thought about what is it that goes on Monday to Friday. What is it that makes the orchestra tick? The fact that there's a whole organisation that works, like yourself, that works behind the scenes to bring these performances to the public and to bring it to the community. So I felt that there was a real interesting narrative and depth to that's exciting for people to see, and I think the response has been quite positive.
Very positive,
yeah. So,
Chantal, just going back to, the imagery in this year's brochure is just stunning, and it's really captures that feel of energy and excitement and all the work that happens to bring the performance to stage. Can you just tell me about your approach? And I know when we first started talking about this concept, you had the idea of taking a real photojournalism approach, and the images I certainly think meet that brief. But can you just explain the kind of the thought process and the process of actually capturing those images on the day? And it was very kind of informal, wasn't it?
Yes. Definitely. Well, we put together a photo brief. So Dan Cripps is a local photographer, very skilled, and we engaged him to fulfil the brief. And our brief to him was that we wanted that almost documentary fly on the wall, not posed, not set up, and something different to what people are expecting to see. So as you said, there's a lot of beautiful imagery already out there of the orchestra in action or performing. So we really wanted a bit of a different take on that. One of the things that I loved about the image suite that has been produced was that it also wasn't just about the musicians themselves. So there's, again, another favourite of mine is a shot of a harp being wheeled down the hall by a member of the production team. We didn't want the standard headshot of Caroline necessarily looking to camera, so being able to really capture that essence of her in action and in her office, and
I remember when you
capture
came
that
in for the first
personality.
looking around to sort of scope the location, that you loved the bass cases in the hall out there, and that was an
Yes.
area you hadn't been before, and you immediately thought that was going to be a great
Yes, they
opportunity
look
for an image.
visually very good. And the hero shot that's actually behind the 2021 text is of French horn player Heath in just behind the stage in the storeroom, was it?
Yep. Yeah.
Yes, so he was just warming up there. There was someone in the background tinkering away as well. So it was just a real candid moment and something that you wouldn't necessarily see, or something that wouldn't be expected. And to me, it just created a really beautiful outcome. And yeah, I
The
was
way
really
we planned
happy
it
with the results.
was basically just sort of wandering around.
Yes.
There was no setup really, was there? We were aware that there were a couple of rehearsals happening on that day, and we were aware of certain staff being in the office. And I think you and Dan and Robert just sort of wandered around and impromptu captured some images and got some setups on the fly. That's quite right, isn't it?
Yes, which can create a more challenging brief, because you don't necessarily know how things are going to play out or what's going to be available. We got up in the production booth and saw some of the guys in action up there, or in the concert hall themselves practicing for one of the Friday Night Lives, and then some different rehearsals were happening in the rehearsal space. But I think that again is what creates the interest. It's the spaces behind the curtain, the spaces that people aren't usually having access to. So the other thought, besides kind of lifting the curtain or the behind the scenes, was this access all areas, kind of getting a real VIP experience of Tasmania's orchestra.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think you've captured that so well. What people might not realise, though, is when we launch a season and we have a certain look and feel for that season, we have a signature colour, and this year it's sienna, not orange. As last year, people might remember, we had magenta, which was not pink, but magenta. So that was our colour of the year. So we're sticking with sienna this year, which I think is really vibrant and captures the sort of the energy that's going into next year's season. There's this kind of look and feel, like an overall look and feel, but that has to work on so many different outputs, doesn't it? It has to work on buses and postcards and posters. It has to work digitally. Has to work in hard collateral. So how do you approach that? Trying to find something that will work basically in any setting.
Well, I guess where we start when it comes to the process, and our team came down and presented some concepts and options to your team, and we work very collaboratively to arrive at the place that everyone is really happy with. Our thought behind this sienna feel was that because we wanted that real documentary photojournalistic style of imagery, we felt we wanted something really vibrant to contrast against that. So you've got this black and white and monotones, and then you've got this real pop of colour. So that was the idea behind the sienna. And then we also looked at other aspects, bringing the imagery out of the text. So we wanted something that was quite strong and bold. We feel that as we've worked with you, the direction of the orchestra is, it's very fresh and innovative, and it's bringing the orchestra to the people, to the Tasmanian public, and it's a real orchestra for the community. So we wanted it to also feel quite accessible to everyone. Some of the programs and things that have been introduced are about bringing the orchestra to the Tasmanian people, and it's not what some people might expect. So we wanted it to feel quite modern and strong and bold, and that's where we've gone with the font directions and the style. We wanted it to not necessarily feel very traditional, but still really pay respect to the music and the work, and let that sing itself.
A key starting point is often this kind of year stamp, isn't it? We change that up every year, and that's always where we sort of start. The whole kind of everything sort of flows out of that, doesn't it? And so we this year we went with the 2021 actually in words this year. But what I didn't realise until you pointed it out to me was that you'd actually referenced the new acoustic work in that
Yes, so I was
graphic.
about to get to that. So we'd come down and had a look at the concert hall and the new works that have been done, and there's these horizontal timber panels that architecturally are quite beautiful, but they're obviously there for a function and to serve a purpose. So we reference that with the horizontal lines, and there's a lot more blocky feels and lines, and these might be subtle references that aren't necessarily super apparent to everyone, but that there is thought and something that's been weaved through every aspect. So we've carried the TSO little stamp that went with 2021, so that had a little bit more of a decorative feel, and we've gone for a bit more of a stronger feel. But the TSO component itself, has some straight lines, and then we've got this is something else that people may not have realised, is that the angle line is kind of representing the conductor stick and a bit of movement. So we've kept that angular component running through, but yes, the horizontal lines were a nod to the acoustic setup as well. And to answer your previous question about the way that it progresses, I guess we start with the concept and the narrative and what is the story that's being told. A hero colour, a presentation of type. This is the feel that we want to create with the imagery, and then from there it carries out into different extensions, and it's not always looking the same every application. So, for instance, we start with the season brochure, which becomes the hero piece, and that's often something quite special, even in terms of the print production, nice stocks and things that us design people get excited about, down to when we did the media campaign, we also selected a hero image of Emma. That was one of your favourites, and so everyone would have been seeing her around on the buses and
that
press
was a really.
ads.
I think it's the first time we've actually ever had one of our musicians being the face of the campaign, and Emma, of course, is the concert master, and she's integral in putting together the season and contributing to the work. And there was a real moment when we discussed using her on the bus campaign, and you said to me, have you checked with Emma?
Yes.
She's fine with that. And fortunately, she was just walking past at that moment, and I got her in. She's like, "Yeah, that's great."
Because she's larger than life on the buses. But then I saw that she was, the selfie of her with her kids in front of it, which was really great to see. And that, even having some of those photos come through on your social media feed is all part of that story, that these are just regular people in our community, and it's exciting for her kids to see their mum up on the bus, and I love that. That to me brings a real richness to the story. I love that the shot of Emma is very raw as well. So she's not made up, she's not on stage, she's not performing. She was here in the rehearsal space in her jeans and blunnies, just an average weekday practicing, and you could still see the emotion she was putting into her playing. And to me, there was something really powerful in that. It gives you an essence of who she is, and not super airbrushed or glamorous. It is that real documentary style that we wanted to just really capture.
Chantal, you've been really generous with your time. Thanks so much for coming down to the TSO studio today and joining us. And I'd encourage everyone, if they haven't checked out our season yet, please jump online, pick up a brochure, pick up a season guide for the summer season, and start enjoying some fantastic music as soon as possible.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
Thanks, Chantal.